Welcome to the Intake Podcast. We are your hosts, Carson Miller and Travelle McManus, and this is a podcast where we dive into the media that is shaping our world today.
And for this week's episode, we are going to review our outtakes, which were some really fun challenges that we gave each other, dive into our top 2 anticipated TV shows before we do our very first Rank and Explain, where we're going to rank and explain our top 10 movies that we're anticipating for 2025 and kind of just see where we compare. And we're both really excited for
Super
this.
excited.
We're both two people who love to rank things, and we were able to accomplish a way where we can blind rank them and see them in real time and kind of give each other feedback based on what we see. So, and then we'll end with some outtakes, which will involve some audience participation. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for all of our future episodes. So we had some outtakes. We had some outtake challenges from last week, and
we did.
I'm excited to hear what your. I want to start. I will start with you because
That's fine.
I've been so excited to know. Okay, just write out what movie did you pick?
Which one do you think I watched?
I think you picked. When I first presented this, I was like, he's going to pick The Boy and the Heron. But then I felt like you might throw me a curveball and pick something else and maybe go with either Your Name or Spy Family. Probably probably Spy Family. But I was pretty set on thinking, I was like, I think you're going to pick Boy and the Heron.
I did pick Boy and the Heron.
Okay.
If I had to pick a second one, it would have been the Spy Family one and Your Name. Just not in the mood.
I think out of the 3, I know, and I think out of the 3, that was probably the one I wanted you to watch the most because it's out of the 3, it is the best of the 3.
Yeah,
as far as just across the board.
Right.
So, what were your thoughts?
My thoughts were that it's a really well-made movie and it's a very interesting story. I'm just not sure that I got it.
I know.
Like, it is way out there. It was the best way for me to describe it was as an animated A24 movie.
Yes, very much so.
It's very abstract. It's telling a story. It has a backdrop kind of World War II and moves into this story of a son who's lost his mother and is gaining a stepmother, and she's pregnant, and he is processing all of this. And there's some mental health that he's dealing with through some of those big changes occurring in his life. And then it goes into this really weird, abstract, out of this world experience for him. And I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it more when I watched about 3 YouTube videos after it, kind of giving me some context for some of the deeper, more hidden meanings that are more related to studio drama and the director of the film and writer of the film, whose name escapes me right now. Yeah. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. I think I would enjoy it more on a second watch.
Yeah.
And the medium of anime, because we talked about it after the podcast last week, that anime isn't necessarily a genre. It's more of a medium that different genres play out in.
Yes.
And so this was definitely more independent filmmaking, a little bit out there type movie. Very interesting and deep, but in an anime form. And I thought about it, I was like, man, what if I just watched this and it was live action? And the film didn't change a whole lot when I thought about that. It was just the medium that the stuff was presented in, and it's an animation style that I don't think this movie could have been supported by anything other than the animation style. So overall, enjoyed it. A little confused still on what actually happened, but I hope that. What are your thoughts on the movie?
Yes. No, I do like, because Studio Ghibli, which is a very well-known anime studio, and I love that you said they are it's an A24 anime, because they are the A24 film of anime, pretty much.
Right.
With animations, their art style, it is very abstract, it is very out there. Spirited Away is one of their most popular movies, and I had the ease. That was one before The Boy and the Heron. That was like their big hitter. I think it also won the Oscars back in early 2000s. And I had that same reaction with that one and a few of their earlier stuff. I think it got to a point where it is kind of like watching an A24 film where you kind of learn their language and the way that they
Mm,
use art style and colors and weird
right.
characters and weird
Yeah.
designs to tell a bigger story without telling you what that bigger story is. And that could
Right.
be
Yes.
frustrating. It was frustrating for Bailey had to watch it twice. The first time was
Yeah.
because like she like it was a movie that she, like neither of us realized that we have to give it our full undivided attention. I think we were both
Right.
on our
Yeah,
phones
for
at
sure.
times and then we'll look up and we're like what is happening?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
where are like were we not in the real
Mm,
world? Like what world are we in? Who are these
right.
characters? Like what is all of this chaos? And so
Mm,
it it is something that definitely, second, third watch
mm,
wouldn't hurt to have a you and I'm glad you did that. I'm
right.
glad that you got
Yeah,
more context
I
of
did.
what the what the story was telling. Yes, Studio Ghibli, just because like you kind of have to learn them to really
Yeah,
understand how to approach the
right.
movie. And so, but it is a dream of mine. They have a massive store in Tokyo. One of my childhood friends actually just went to Tokyo and went to
Mm,
that store. And it's one of my dreams to go to that store and
right,
just get all of their artwork and designs and character designs because they're a very talented studio.
right.
So,
Yeah, and I mean, you can see that in the quality
hmm
of the film. You can see that there's a lot of talent and intention behind
hmm
what they're doing. And I think that I did split it over 2 watches.
yeah.
It's like a 2-hour movie, and to be honest, I started a little bit later in the evening. I fell asleep after about an hour and then woke back, I was like, "I'm gonna finish this tomorrow," and I finished
Because
it
it
the
is
next
very
day.
soothing. It
Yeah,
can
it is.
definitely
The
rock you.
music,
It could rock you to
oh my
sleep.
goodness.
Yes, and
Yeah,
not
the
in like yeah,
music,
not in a boring way, but in like a it's just so yeah.
right. And you said it could be frustrating. I tend to be frustrated by those type of movies where you're in a new world and there seems to be rules that are applying to that world, but the audience is not privy to those rules. And that
hmm
can sometimes frustrate me. It did a
Yeah.
little bit, but when I take a step back and have read some other things about the movie, it makes more sense why it's that way. But
hmm
at the moment, I was like, "Oh man, Travell, I really don't wanna come in negative on this," and I'm glad that
no,
I'm not. I'm really
no,
glad
I
that I'm
know. Me
not,
too.
but
Me too. No, I
so
get it.
that was my challenge. Your challenge
Yeah.
was to intake some episodes of Star Trek. I gave you 3.
Yes.
Did you make it through
Yes.
all 3?
I did make it through all three
Okay,
in one
awesome.
sitting too.
And one sit
So
wow,
and it
that's a
was
lot of
because it was about the length of a movie once you put
yeah.
all of them together. So it was, but
Did
yes,
you go in the order that I gave you?
yeah, yes, the order
Okay,
that they
good.
came and that made and I won't get too ahead of myself, but that made the
Right.
last episode completely just completely caught me off guard.
Right.
But I mean, I did enjoy it, and I do see why Star Trek has, I mean, this
Mhm.
historic run where
Right.
it's always going to be on television. Like
Right.
I think of the history of television and I think of Star Trek. I just
Mm.
have never participated in that. So the first episode was really good because I was familiar with Spunk. I'm probably gonna say his name wrong.
Spock.
Spock,
Yeah.
Spock, and
Captain
Captain
Kirk.
Kirk.
Yep.
And I never have really seen, but I mean, I've seen the newer movies that came out like while we were in high school and middle school, but I haven't
Right.
seen like the OG Captain
Mhm.
Kirk
Yeah.
from the 1960s and just like the womanizer in him and just like the smooth talker,
Oh, man.
that 1960s cinematography, and I loved
Uh-huh.
it. It was a fun episode. Well, it
Right.
wasn't fun. It was actually a
Well,
really
yeah.
sad episode, but it was fun to watch just, the time because
Mm.
it was like the time traveling episode where they go back to the Great Depression in New York.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because it didn't feel like what we see in today's
Mm.
movies when we have like those flashbacks to that time
Right.
because it was like this was 1960, like these people probably lived through some of this. So it
Right.
felt
Yeah.
very authentic and it
Mm.
felt, even though like wasn't the best cinematography since it was so long
Right.
ago, it just felt very authentic. It felt just really interesting. And then the story of it all,
Yeah.
and just the tragedy that came of it. But like
Mm.
the jokes, the relationship between Spock and Captain Kirk, some of the
Right.
jokes that definitely were 1960 jokes that would not land in
Right.
2025.
Yeah.
I found a lot of humor in that and just
Yep.
like really enjoyed that aspect of it. But yeah, and I out of the three, I I enjoyed all of them, and I looked
Mhm.
at looking at the IMDb, right, and I think all of them were very highly rated. So it was
Yes.
like
Yeah.
these. I think you gave me some of the best. Um, I really enjoyed, and I can't really compare them because they all kind of have their own
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
They're all telling completely different stories.
Right.
Really enjoyed the second one. The
Mm.
second
Good.
one, um, just a whole conversation around, and that this episode is talking about, this AI robot
Mhm.
that was being that was given an order to be shut down for research purposes,
Yep.
and then the concept of choice, and
Mm.
like, what does it mean to have a soul? Does it mean to be
Right.
human? I love seeing a young Whoopi Goldberg just pop
Yeah.
up in the middle of the episode. It like
Right.
took me. I was like, wait a minute.
Yep.
And just that conversation that they
Mm.
had about,
Yes.
what, like what it means to be free, what it means
Mm.
to care for others, what it means to respect others.
Mm.
And so like the diplomacy side of Star Trek, which
Right.
when I was younger was the side that kind of I just wasn't as invested in as an adult now.
Right.
Going back and watching something like that, it was really
Mm.
interesting to watch and to see the outcome of that. And still weird over the conversation was like talking about a robot, but
Yeah.
I understood the bigger message that the
Mm.
story was trying to have.
Right. Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed that. And
That's good.
then we get to the last episode, was just complete, like, just as far left
It's
field from the
Yep.
previous two as possible. And I was so glad I watched this in a different order. I mean, so
Right.
this is the
S
creators of Rick and Morty that
I
made
think it
this?
is. I'm pretty
Okay.
don't quote me, but I think it is. So, the
Okay.
first 2, you have the original series for Star Trek fans. Then I gave him a Next Generation episode that revolves around Data, who is one of the best characters in Next Generation. And then the 3rd episode was the animated series Lower Decks, which presents a whole different perspective, from Star Trek. Um, but it is still Star Trek at its core.
Yeah.
And, so continue with your thoughts on that. Just a little bit of context, it's the
Just
animated one.
is the animated one. It was just a lot of just like crazy jokes,
Mm,
like like there, I mean, it had a humor side of it that the
yeah,
others did not. It very
right.
much played into like the cartoony ish of it all, and
Mhm.
like that type of humor felt very like Family Guy, like,
Yeah,
Rick and Morty. And so the way that they handled diplomacy there was just complete chaos and humorous
right.
all at once. And it was just different character, like it was more lively. I did like that
Yeah,
about it. Everyone
mhm,
wasn't so serious. That was
right.
something that, in the other two, just a very serious and direct tone. This one
Mhm,
was just all just goofiness.
right.
um and the robot in this one wasn't, was it this similar to
Yes.
date?
Yes,
Okay.
so in the Lower Decks episode, and I completely forgot about this when I assigned it to you, and so I actually went back and watched these episodes myself this week, just to refresh myself on these, and I love watching Star Trek, so not a big deal for me.
There you go.
But in this episode, there's a mirror universe, multiverse type thing going on, and Data's head, the android's head, gets chopped off, and it ends up in the wrong universe, and they're sent to go
Okay.
retrieve it. So it is Data, but Data from another universe. But it's the
Okay.
same actor is doing the voice that played him in Next Gen, and so it was good.
Ah,
That's why I was very when I realized that I went, oh no, please watch these in the right order.
okay.
Um, so
That makes sense. I picked up on that because I was, because it took me a while, but then the more I looked at, because it took me a while, but the more I looked at,
yeah,
I was like, I'm pretty sure it's like, I didn't know if it was the exact same character or
right,
if it was just like a different, like maybe this is the advanced another version or
yeah,
what. But okay, that's really
yeah.
cool. That makes sense. So that was a nice little throwback
A
there.
little throwback there, and I didn't realize it was completely accidental. But so each of these I feel like deals with a moral question, which is why I kind of
Hmm.
gave them to you, is that to me, Star Trek is at its best when it's using this futuristic sci-fi world to talk about issues that we have today, but in a way that is either indirect or just makes it makes the conversation a little bit easier. And so for us as a
Mhm.
family growing up watching Star Trek, we had some intense conversations about some things that happen in Star Trek that it's just presented in this sci-fi world. So the first episode,
Mm.
Captain Kirk has to let somebody die for the timeline to continue on the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the moral lesson is out of that outside of don't time travel, but it
Yeah.
does present you with an interesting thought piece of, wow, I never thought about what happens there.
Yeah.
Um, what is the value? How do we define who is valued as a individual in the next episode in Star Trek Next Gen versus who is not?
Mhm.
And then the shenanigans of Lower Decks. But from the moral perspective, or maybe like the more intellectual side of things, did you catch on to some of those things with your kind of first viewing of them, or how did that make you feel?
I did in the second one, in the middle episode,
Mhm.
with the question of like who is an individual, what does it mean to have a soul, because it was such a focal point and there
Right.
was just a lot, like it was very direct. The first one, it was a conversation like, do you, if you know that the person you love
Mm.
is going, yeah, like that,
One of the many
that
people he loves.
yeah, one of the million people. I know. I was like, this is, he loves her. How long did I miss a time skip? I was very caught off guard by that.
Classic Captain
Um,
Kirk.
and so, like that, the the pain of choice was, I
Mm.
think, kind of the message of the first one. Like, he very much in that moment had the choice of choosing to
Mhm.
save the one that he loved, even at the expense of a future that is very uncertain and very
Right.
dark, or to lose the one that he loves to to keep the timeline as we have. And so,
Right.
yeah, and the lesson is definitely, like you said, don't time travel.
Right.
Um, and then the third one, that one I definitely probably missed it because I was
Yeah.
just so caught up in the silliness of it all.
Mm.
I mean, the competition of being up that role, I can't remember the exact
The
role, like
senior
the,
science officer.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that, like that
Mm.
pushing that back and forth,
Yep.
I did kind of see that there, I definitely relate to the, there's no time for sleeping, only doing
Right.
executing. And so like that was there, but the silliness of it all, the jail
Mm.
scene cracked me up a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, yeah, that one I don't know, there definitely probably was a message there, but I
Right.
was just too busy laughing
Yeah.
to,
I mean,
to pick up
it's a
on it.
fun show. It really is. So I'm glad you enjoyed them. Would you go back and watch more Star Trek now?
Yeah, I mean, if there is a collection of like, I don't know if I would be able to just watch
Mm.
them in just like
Right.
order,
Yeah.
but if there were like a best 20 episodes, like I could see
Yeah.
me throughout a course of a summer or a time where I
Right.
don't have anything else going on, just, taking 30 40 minute episodes and
Yeah.
take looking at them.
Well, awesome. Thanks for indulging me on Star
So,
Trek.
now the most important question, do you have a ranking of your favorite Star Trek episodes?
Not episodes specifically. I do rank the series, and
Oh, okay.
I'm not a completist right now. I have not seen everything that has been put out by Star Trek. I have tried to get there, and there's just some of the newer stuff is hard for me to get behind and to watch. It's not real to me. It's not Star Trek. I'm specifically talking about Star Trek Discovery for those who are Trekkie fans. It is it's hard to watch Discovery.
It
So
over because they're all on Paramount
yes,
Plus, and
uh huh,
it terrified me when I searched Star Trek, and like it was just like 40 different series that popped up. Like I had to
yeah,
look hard. The the last two episodes weren't hard to find, but the first one was
mm,
really, it was just hard because I was on my TV too, so I'm like
right,
using a remote, and I just took me forever to just find the original, and it was
yeah.
like there are so
There's a lot.
many spin-offs, and
Yeah.
I can see why. Like it
Yeah.
has a story, a
Mm.
concept that works,
Yeah,
and
it does.
has worked from the age of television to 2025.
Yeah.
So it's really impressive. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah. So I do have a list. We will do that rank and explain at some point in the future, and I will go through all of my reasons why uh, I have them ranked the way that I do. But that leads us into our own rank and explain for this episode, and we are gonna do to start off with our top 2 anticipated TV shows for this year. So I will let you go first. What are your top 2 anticipated TV shows and why?
Okay, well, the first one is Daredevil,
Okay.
and it is just because I absolutely love the Daredevil Netflix series.
Mm,
Was a big fan of it. I mean, it was dark, it was
yeah.
sinister, it showed villains, but 'cause this is before Thanos,
Yep.
so I've never seen a villain like Kingpin
Mm,
played out the way it was. And it
right.
was just really amazing. The choreography, everything about it just looked flawless. And so seeing the trailer,
And
seeing that they're trying to stay true to that path, I'm
right.
really excited. It's been a lot of disappointments as we've
Mm,
talked about so many times with
yeah.
with the Disney Plus shows,
Yep.
but I do, and I might be setting myself up for failure, which I do all too often with the MCU
Mhm.
properties. But I do, like, I just gotta have hope. And so
Right.
Daredevil is my hope. I'm
Okay.
really hoping that they execute on it well, they stay true to their origin story, and we just get to see Daredevil and
Mm,
Kingpin duke it out like they
yeah.
did in the Netflix series.
All right.
So yeah.
I have not seen the Netflix
Oh,
series. I
so
think I've
so
seen the
good.
first 6 episodes, and I didn't complete it, and so it'd be interesting, to see how this one is, and
Mhm.
especially if I was considering going back and watching that to prepare for this, and now I'm thinking since you're such a big fan, it may be interesting to get a perspective of person who hasn't seen the Netflix show versus person
Oh,
that has seen, so maybe we'll
okay.
tease
Yeah,
that a little bit,
because I'm definitely gonna
for
rewatch it
okay,
before it comes out. And
yeah,
so,
then I might not. We'll see.
okay. And so I guess we can I'll toss you the ball with this one
Okay.
because I already know that this one is going to be yours, just
Yep.
judging by
I don't know
your
how.
T-shirt. But yeah, Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Like it is that last season
Mm,
was some of the best television I've ever seen.
right.
Like I was just blown away by the
Mm,
cinematography, the way that they use music, the way that they use color. Like I, you
right.
know, you've talked about being a sucker for coming of age story. I think
Mm,
Stranger Things is the best coming of age story that I've ever seen.
wow.
Just
Okay.
from how from the kids to how they
Mhm.
act, the actors, like just I love everything about it. And I'm worried. I'm worried about this season from a not from a plot perspective, just from like a
Mm,
who out of my favorite characters are going to survive, who are not.
right.
But I trust. I'm
Mm,
same with Daredevil. They've given us amazing seasons. I
right.
know that they're going to end with a bang. They've taken their time with this,
Mm,
which sucks for us,
right.
but I know that it's going to pay off at
Mm,
the end. So, and I will
alright.
pass that ball to you because I
Yeah.
know that that's
It is my most anticipated show of this year. Super excited. We watched season 1 when it first came out, and then we didn't stay with it. Like, we just didn't keep up with it,
oh.
didn't watch it, and then season 4 was either coming out or was, like, halfway because I think they split the release on it, and we're like,
Mhm.
"Man, everybody's talking about it. Let's go back." We rewatched season 1 and then just powered through it, like, right around October too. So it was perfect
Oof.
spooky season
Mhm.
and absolutely loved it. Like, season 1's great. But I personally think each season gets better,
Yes.
and I loved season 3 and season 4 are just incredible. They're
Masterpiece.
near perfect, and I'm super excited for season 5. I've been just trying to stay away from all sorts of spoilers or set photos or anything, just stay away from it and just be ready for when it comes out and know that I'll be disappointed because Netflix will probably crash or the internet won't work or something, but super excited, and each episode is like a feature-length movie. It
It
is
really is.
they really
Yeah.
do such a
It's
good job of
crazy.
giving the audience what we want, and
Yes.
in the Duffer Brothers, we trust. So, super excited for Stranger Things season 2. My second most anticipated, I really struggled with this one because I am excited for quite a few things all about the same level. Like, there's nothing to the level of
Of
Stranger
Stranger
Things,
Things.
but I thought about, man, which what's coming out that just absolutely loved the first season and can't wait for a second. and
Mhm.
that is Wednesday. So I really want Wednesday to be good again. I thought the first season was great. Tim Burton at his best that he's been in a long time,
Okay.
just with new material, able to again present us like a Hogwarts style school. And I just really enjoyed the first season, so I'm super excited for season two. Again, just kind of that Halloweeny, spooky season type stuff. I
Mhm.
I don't do we don't do horror as as
Yes,
a commonality
yes,
that we have,
yes.
but this like horror adjacent where it's a little bit uh kid friendly ish and just spooky
Mhm.
adjacent is where I like to
More
live,
palatable,
more
yeah.
palatable. And so got the kid gloves on, and that's where I like to live in my spooky season. So having another season of that, I'm super excited for. So
Nice. I
that is,
need to watch it. I've
yeah,
seen the clips, I've seen the
mhm,
dance, everyone's seen the
yeah,
dance, and I really do need to watch it because I feel like it is something I
mm,
would like. I think it would be something I know it would be a good couple show. I think it's something my
yeah.
wife absolutely would love to watch too.
Mm.
When is it? Is it coming out around Halloween?
Netflix is terrible at giving us dates. So Stranger Things and
Uh,
Wednesday, we don't have official release dates, I don't
that is
believe.
true. I know it's gonna
So
just
I
spring
think
up
you
on
would like
us.
it. I really do. I think
Okay.
it's very it's not the best. Like the writing is pretty good. The
Mhm.
Some of the CGI is okay. Most of it's good, but some of it's just okay. And I think the fact that you liked Beetlejuice really leads me to believe that you'd like this because
Okay.
in my opinion, it's way better than that. And it has
I
some of
was
those elements about it. It has some
okay.
of those like one of our agreed best plot points of Beetlejuice. We disagree on the movie overall, but one of the best plot points was when Jenna Ortega meets the teenager hanging out in the tree, and they kind of start a relationship type thing. There's some
Mhm.
of that plot in Wednesday,
Okay.
and it leads to some really good storytelling. So I think you would
Okay.
like it. I recommend it.
I was gonna make a Beetlejuice joke in there, but I'm glad you brought it up
Yeah,
naturally because I I feel bad. I get it. Yeah.
yeah,
So and this is as someone just so listeners know, I have not seen the first one yet. So
right,
before you tear me apart for thinking Beetlejuice is good, it's only because I have not seen the OG yet, and I
right,
need to because
right.
then I probably will end up hating it like everyone else I know who has watched the first one and then went to go watch the second one.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
but is it
So
time for the
it's time for the main event, the
okay?
highlight of our week, I think. We've both been looking forward to this, is our top 10 movies of 2025 that we are anticipating to come out this year. So we are super excited. Travel's worked really hard on this really cool graphic that's going to be on the YouTube version of this show. So go check us out on YouTube. Make sure to follow along there if you want to see it visually play out. Pretty excited about this thing that he's come up with. I don't even know how to explain it beyond that. And
It would take me 40 minutes to explain it
okay,
beyond what you did. You did a great job.
thanks.
So
I tried.
I'll save everyone the headache. I explained it to my wife and her head, she was like, no, can't do it. Just
Can't
stop.
do it.
So
But super excited. So we're actually going to start with some honorable mentions. I'm going to give you all of my honorable mentions minus one because I think it's going to be on your list. And so some of my honorable mentions as we
okay.
go into this. So we maybe just to give an overview, we're going to do honorable mentions and then we're going to go back and forth on that. So I'll give mine, you'll give yours. Then we will go 10 through 6, most anticipated. You'll give yours, I'll give mine, and then 5 through 2, and then we'll both reveal our number ones at the end. So that's kind of how we're going to go through this here. So my honorable mentions for 2025 movies I'm most anticipating are F1, Brad Pitt, Fast Cars. What else can you say? I'm excited for
Mhm.
it, but it didn't
Mhm.
crack the top 10.
Okay.
There's a new Pixar movie coming out called Elio, and it is kind of sci-fi, which I love. Again, excited. Jurassic World Rebirth did not make my top 10. I'm gonna be honest,
Interesting. Oh,
the trailer hurt it. It did.
that
I was not
surprises.
impressed by the trailer.
Wow.
Yeah. So, excited for it, gonna go see it, probably will be their opening weekend, but not in my top 10.
That makes me more excited to see your top 10 now cuz
Yeah.
I was oh man, okay.
So, Karate Kid Legends, talk about a trailer that took me from who cares to ridiculously excited. Not top 10 excited, but pretty darn excited. The first trailer for that was awesome. The music worked, the story worked. I'm a Karate Kid fan. and I was curious where they were gonna take it, and it seems like a really interesting story, so excited for that one. Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho's
Yep.
follow-up to Parasite. It is not a sequel, but it's his next movie. Weird, wacky sci-fi with Robert Pattinson. Kinda signed me up, but didn't quite crack the top 10. And then a movie called In the Gray, which is gonna be directed by Guy Ritchie, who, as a director, I feel like he has more hits than misses. Very action-focused, very story-driven director, and it has Henry Cavill and Jake Gyllenhaal in it. So just kind of a good cast, good director combo. Excited to see it. So those are my honorable mentions, -1, and I'll turn it over to
Okay.
you to go through yours.
Well, I don't have a ton because
Okay.
Carson could speak to this, and this was something I definitely want to preference before we actually start revealing our list. I have grown to hate trailers.
Mm,
And one of my biggest struggles has been, like Carson could attest to this, I even show up to movie theaters late so that
yes.
I can avoid trailers. And part of it is that I feel like I see them all the time.
Right.
I hate how long it takes to get through trailers in a movie theater.
Mm,
But because of that,
yeah.
I don't like yeah, you talked about Karate Kid. Like I don't have those experiences because I don't watch the
Okay.
trailers anymore.
Right.
And I've kind of almost tripled down on that
Mm,
after Captain America because we can talk
yeah.
about this another time. But I do think that that movie is probably top 5 of the trailer ruined the movie type of
Oh,
movie.
okay.
And so, and I, yeah, we can go on that rant another time. But so I don't know. It's like I had to look through a list and kind of figure
Yeah.
out and then kind of watch some of the trailers. But there were some that I like that I knew immediately. And then I kind of looked around.
Mm,
I loved Zootopia growing
okay.
up. Oh, when I was like when I watched it, and I did see that there was a second one coming out.
Yep.
So I'm really excited about that one, but didn't make the top 10 just because it was something I feel like it would have been like a cop out to put that in when I
Right.
didn't even know they were making a second one.
Right.
So I was like, oh, that is really cool. It's been like what 10 years since the
Yeah.
first one, but
Not quite. I think it was 2017, so,
okay.
8 years. I mean, pretty
Okay.
close.
Okay. So yeah, so Zootopia, and I also put Mikey, and it was really those two. Like those are like my
Okay.
only two that
Yeah.
and same thing you said with Mikey. It's one that I know my wife's gonna be interested in seeing. So that's kind of
Right.
it checks that box. It'll be
Mm,
something that'll be fun to go see.
right.
So it seemed like it has a really interesting storyline. We did see the trailer of that for Captain
Yep.
America,
We
and I was
did.
like, oh, and that was my first
Yeah.
time hearing about it. And so I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
and I think it's coming out relatively
It's coming out in
soon.
a couple weeks, I think.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so that's good, and it's good to know your policy on trailers because I was worried that you were gonna miss Captain America when you guys were showing up a little bit late to it. My rule of thumb is that to the best of my ability, I only watch 1 trailer,
Mm,
even if that's like a teaser. So for me, I do need to know about the movie somewhat to get excited about
mhm.
it, and so I watch about 1 trailer. If it's a teaser and then a full trailer, I usually get to that full trailer and then I stop and I try to cut everything off because movies have been ruined for me or I get too excited and then it's a letdown. So,
And while we're on this conversation about trailers, before we
yeah.
even get into, I mean, I just have to know. So what did you see in the Jurassic World trailer that like, I was so convinced. I was like, oh,
Man, it's
top
not even
five
the
for
one I
Carson,
held out on.
easy,
No, it's
easy.
not even the movie I held out on. There's one on here that I think is gonna shock you more than Jurassic World,
Oh
that I didn't put on
man,
my list,
oh
but
man,
it just felt the same. There was
oof.
I like the cast,
Mm-hmm.
I like the director, I think the concept is interesting. It just felt the same,
Yeah,
and I was part of it is I didn't mind the Jurassic World franchise. I thought the first one was a really good kind of Force Awakens type where they kind of
yeah.
retread a little bit, but you get to see the full-fledged park, and I thought that was really interesting. The
Mm-hmm.
second one was kind of like a monster in the house type, again, horror adjacent, and I thought
Yeah.
that was very interesting, and the third one they just didn't continue the story. They did something completely different. I was pretty disappointed by it, and so then
Hmm.
to have a similar feeling from the first trailer of this one, I just meh, oh well. Like, it
Okay.
just brought me down from gonna be on the top 10 to still excited to see it, hope it's really good, want it to be really good, but I'm not holding out hope. I'm fearful we're just gonna and they've kind of fast-tracked it, which is also a little nerve-wracking for me. Like, we just
Mm.
found out that they're making this about 6 months ago, and they have, like, fast-tracked this thing. I'm sure it's been planning
Oof.
longer than that, but, It seems to be on the fast track, so it just didn't make the top 10. It would make a top 20. It might even make a top 15 for me, just not top
Hmm.
10. So,
Yeah, I've always struggled with the Jurassic World series, just because, and this is someone who even who what you're expressing about that. That's
yeah.
as someone who's not a big dinosaur person, I've just
Mm,
felt that way from the not very beginning, but
right.
earlier on, even like
Mm,
the earlier Jurassic Parks. But
right.
the thing I did love about those movies that there it was centered around telling a story. It was centered
Right.
around the dinosaurs, that focus,
Mm,
where Jurassic World felt like you said, like the Force Awakens, in the sense that it just not like a money grab, but
right.
it that seems to be more of the focus with bringing
Mm,
back this world than it is
right.
the story. And I
An
mean,
actual
you could
story to
say,
tell.
yeah, and you could say that about everything that's coming out today. I
Right.
get it, but there are times, and hearing the fast track, like that
Right.
kind of is always one of the like
Mm,
earlier tell signs that, like,
right.
I mean, that that's the story of Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
and you and we know Carson's take
When
on
I
that. So.
don't like that movie at all. I was quite mad at it. But I am not mad about seeing your list. So this is a
Okay.
blind list for even us. We have not seen each other's rankings.
Nope.
They will be revealed in real time to us. So with that, I'm going to turn over to you to jump into your 10 through 6, and I'll let you
Okay.
kind of go through them and then give my reaction.
So since this is already pre-programmed, it'll be yours first. It'll be
Okay,
you,
then
me. So
I
yeah,
will
sorry
I will
about that.
go. No, no problem. So my number 10 most anticipated movie of 2025 is Tron Ares.
Okay.
So this is the third movie in the Tron franchise. My growing up, my brother and I really enjoyed the first Tron that was released, I think, in like late 70s, early 80s. It was a little ahead of its time, and but
Mhm.
really enjoyed the concept of it.
Okay.
They weren't quite there technically yet. It wasn't great technically. It doesn't look the best, but the story is really cool and very interesting. So when I think in 2010 Tron Legacy comes out
Yeah,
and
I
it
loved it.
visually looks so good, but then the story was just okay. It didn't have the same um, level of intrigue or story that we wanted it to. Soundtrack is fantastic. Love the Daft Punk score for Tron Legacy. So to have a third one coming out, I'm really excited and hopeful that we will get a marriage of those two things, the style and the substance in this movie. And Jared Leto's gonna be in this, who can sometimes be hit or miss, but for the most part, I think is a good actor, just kind of a weird dude. And the director is good. So the director is Joaquin Roning. He's had a couple good movies that have come out. Kon-Tiki, which I think won an Oscar, was at least nominated. Young Woman in
Oh,
the Sea, Pirates of
yeah.
the Caribbean 5, which I enjoyed. He did direct a Maleficent movie, which isn't great, but super excited for Tron Ares.
Nice.
Number nine is Now You See Me 3. And
Oh,
this is kind of one that I don't think is on people's radar, but it is
I didn't
coming
even
out
know.
this year.
No, see, yep, did not know.
Yep. And I love the first two. I love a good heist movie. I
Me
think the
too.
cast is amazing. I really like Jesse Eisenberg and pretty much everything he's in. I even liked his Lex Luthor in the Batman versus Superman movie. And so
Mm,
super excited about this. Magic is always fun, even though they stretch the limits and push it a little bit far.
yeah.
In the second one, Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter, is the villain. And I love him as a villain. He's kind of quirky and weird, and I like him. So super excited for Now You See Me 3.
Mhm.
Number 8 on my list is Zootopia 2, which was an
Nope,
honorable
there it
mention for
is.
you. And I love the first Zootopia. I think it's great. I love some of the just kind of life lessons it's teaching. I love the world that they've built. It's one of those movies where they've built a really interesting world and you get to know the rules about it because it's a kid
Mhm.
movie. And I like that. So, Zootopia 2, super excited to have that back in theaters. It's been too long for that to have come out. But that is my number 8. Number 7 is The Running Man, which is Edgar Wright's next film. So Edgar Wright, who was originally supposed to do Ant-Man, but ended up not doing it. He did Baby Driver. That's probably his most like mainstream movie is Baby Driver.
Solid
So to
movie.
have him remaking an 80s sci-fi movie and having it star Glenn Powell and Josh Brolin and Coleman Domingo is super exciting for me. He is a very auteur director. He has a vision, he does it, and it is very much him. And so to have it in this world, I think is going to be super exciting. Very interested to see what that turns out as. It's more intrigue, maybe than even excitement, because I don't think the original is all that great, but it's more intrigue of what he's gonna do with this and how he's gonna make it his own, and Glenn Powell is a really good actor, and I'm interested to see where he takes it. So, that is
Okay.
my number 7, and then number 6, coming in number 6 is Lilo and Stitch.
Okay.
So, really excited for the live action Lilo and Stitch movie. My wife loves Lilo and Stitch. My son likes Lilo and Stitch.
Ah,
I think
sweet.
Stitch is, they said, "Man, what if we had a dog in this movie?" And I went, "No, that's not crazy enough." And they said, "What if we had a toddler in this movie?" And they said, "No, that's a little too crazy." And they blended them together and made Stitch as a combo of a toddler and a dog, and love it. I think my son really resonates with Stitch as a character, and so super excited to go see the live action version. I'm a fan of the Disney live action remakes in general. There's been a few misses,
Okay.
a few hits, so
Yeah.
excited to see this one. So that's my
Yes.
10
Okay.
through 6.
Nice. Okay. Well, I mean, so there is, you might notice that there is some coloring happening here where
Yeah,
we can kind of see. So there's a lot of red, which
there's a
means
lot of red.
that I did not put these in my list. And
Mhm.
some of them is goes back to my point of like, I did not know about Tron. It
Right.
is a property that I have completely forgot, if I'm being honest. I
Yeah.
remember enjoying the Tron Legacy from
Mm.
2010. I think I
Yeah.
went with some friends to go see it, and I think I left the movie thinking it was good. This was
Yeah.
before I was someone who was really dissecting movies like I do now,
Right.
and I forgot it ever since. So
Mm.
with 2025, how cinematography is, I mean, this is the perfect movie
Right.
for the times that we're in, the
Right.
technologies that we have, and the capabilities that they can have with telling the story. So, I mean, if I can go back, I would be putting that in my top 10 because I
Okay.
really am excited about that.
That's good, that's good.
Zootopia fell into that same trap of like, I didn't know this was coming out. And
Right.
so, and now you see me through, that was one where I do like the series, and I don't really have any criticism of it, but it still had that same like I just didn't like
Yeah.
it was one of those easy forgettable movies.
Yeah.
I I am curious to see where they continue the story, where they go.
Right.
The magic scenes, like kind of what you said, like they do kind of go over the top, but
Mhm.
that card scene is
Yeah.
still
It's so
one of
good.
my
It's so good.
favorites, like just shot like
Right.
just it was really cool. So
Yeah.
and then you do see that Lilo and Stitch is
Yep.
on there because I'll just go ahead and is there well before we jump ahead, is there anything that you any additional things to your
No, I just
first.
it's really the Now You See Me, you're talking about the card scene, and it's really the anticipation of not knowing how they're gonna do it. That's
Yeah.
what really makes that's what makes a heist good movie good, is that how are they
Hmm.
gonna accomplish this? But you add magic into it, and it just adds this whole other dimension of like, "Wow, I really
Yeah.
have no idea how they're gonna pull this off, and I may never know," you know? So I think that's what makes them so good, but
Hmm.
I'm excited to hear your 10 through 6.
Okay, so going right where you left off, Lilo and Stitch is my 10th. It is same
Mm,
thing. Like growing up, loved it. One of my favorite Disney movies growing up as a kid. I really like the CGI of Stitch.
mm,
Looks
yeah,
really good. It looks really promising. I have the same feelings as you with some of the Disney
mm,
live action movies. It's been a hit or miss. I've
yep,
enjoyed them. They are the movies that I go into and I don't have a ton of expectation. I
right,
could kind of turn that
mm,
critical side of my brain off because
right.
it's like, am I really going to sit here and criticize a movie about a blue alien that, yes, that is a mix of a toddler and a dog? Like, no. And so this kind of same with like Sonic the Hedgehog, which I saw back in
Mm,
December, that
yeah,
same type of feeling of like, this is a movie that's going to reconnect me with my childhood, which is
right.
something that always brings me joy, always going to
Mm,
win me over. And when I saw and I knew they were doing this, and I was kind of skeptical because I
mhm,
really care about this. And then when I saw Stitch on screen, I was like, sign me up.
yep,
I just love how he looks.
yep,
I can't wait to see the interactions that he has. Can't wait to the way they tell the story. I love
mm,
just the and I hope they
yeah,
stay true to the story
mhm,
with, Hawaii, the
mhm,
influence of Elvis, all of that, because it really
right,
was the combination of all of those things that really made this movie one that I just
good,
love watching as a kid and even
yeah,
as an adult.
yeah,
And so going into my ninth movie, How to
mm,
Train Your Dragon. So this is coming from someone who has not seen any of the animated How to Train Your Dragon movies.
That makes sense.
I
That
It does.
tracks.
I know. I am I at this point I don't think I will. I think I will start with
Mm,
this just to
mm,
match my perspective with my wife who loves this series.
right.
And for some reason the animated movies I it came out in a time where I was too too much of a cool kid to watch it.
Mm,
My brother
yeah.
loved it, and that was
Mm,
a tell for me that I shouldn't be watching it. We're 7 years apart. So it
right.
was just like I pushed it
Oh,
away, but kind of like what Lilo says, now that I'm back in the stage of life where I'm trying to reconnect with my childhood, connect with the things that were around when I was younger,
mm,
I am excited to see them execute on this. The trailers for it look amazing. The dragon, the cinematography, it looks really solid. It looked like it's true. This is coming from someone who has not seen the
yep.
movies, but
Yep.
it looks like it's true. And you look like you. Do you have a? I
Nope.
guess I can.
You keep going on your list. I'll comment later.
And so so I'm very curious to see them execute on this. I'm
Mm,
really excited about it as someone who hasn't seen the movies before. Going
mm,
into my eighth movie, it is Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. I put it there, and I know. I like immediately when I thought about it, I was like, that's right. Is up there because of the anticipation and just the
mm,
stunts and the way
yep.
that they keep raising the stakes to
Right.
these movies. I
Mm,
do think that we might be hitting a cap, but I don't
mm-hmm.
feel like we're there just yet. So
Yep.
I am excited to see what else they're going to accomplish.
Mm,
I do believe that the previous one, I wouldn't say top five, but it falls into that same the trailer ruined the movie
mm, yeah.
category
Yep.
because they showed their biggest stunts in the
Yep.
trailers to where when you saw it coming, the
Yep.
anticipation, the build up, it just didn't pay off because you
Mm,
knew what was happening. And it was such a
right.
long build up
Yep.
for a conclusion that you already knew was going to happen.
Right.
So I am hoping that did not show me
Mm,
in the trailer that we saw for Captain America. I'm hoping
right.
I didn't see anything that blew me away to where
Mm-mm.
I should be able to see that. And I'm hoping maybe they learn from their mistake and
Yep.
I think they probably have. And they seem to have a bigger story that they want to tell, which is why they did this whole two part.
Right.
And so I am excited and I'm very curious to see. And I see that feeling is kind of the
Mm,
same. And so
yep.
going into seven, we have the ballerina movie that
Okay.
is based on the world of John Wick.
It hit.
I'm not a horror movie guy. I mean, I'm not a guy that
Mm,
really likes a lot of gore, that likes a lot of guns, a lot of shooting, but it is
right.
something about the way that the John Wick movies are filmed that just catches my attention.
Right.
And I do I'm not I'm not a Mission Impossible guy, but I am a big 007 Skyfall.
Okay. Yeah.
Love that
Mm-hmm.
agent, spy assassin type vibe to that degree.
Right.
And John Wick executes on that. And
Mm,
the world and the way that the assassin organization in John Wick works, I just find it very interesting. And
right.
in these type of movies, the plot usually is the afterthought, like usually
Yeah.
the spectacles, the
Mm-hmm.
explosions, the guns, the violence, like that is
Right.
what you're there for. But there actually is a story there and is actually a really good story and is really compelling. And it almost makes you want to get
Mm,
through, like, I want to get through this fight scene because I want to see how the outcome impacts the bigger story,
right.
which is not common for these type of movies. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited to see them go into different stories and
Mm,
individual stories because I think it could be a really good story. So I'm really excited for that one. Going into my six is F1, your honorable mention. Same what you said. Like I've been on an F1 kick lately. I've been watching some races lately. I had a
mm,
coworker at my previous job. Her and her husband would go and travel, and they've talked
mm,
about how it's one of the best experiences of their lives. It is a
mm.
dream of mine to go to an F1 race, and I have been
Yeah.
watching the Netflix F1 series that they
Yeah.
have going on there.
Right. Yeah.
The way that they use technology in their sport is next
Mm,
level. Like I
yeah.
want the NBA, I want the NFL to start taking notes on
Right.
how they're connecting with their audience because it is just truly impressive. And as a tech
Mm,
guy, I love it. but that's just going into my interest of F1. So it seemed like the hype is there. Got
Yeah,
Brad Pitt. It's going to be interesting. So I'm ready
awesome.
to ride. So now
Man,
bring it to me.
I'm I'm
What you got?
excited that we have such differences on this half of the list because
Yes,
I think our top half is going to look fairly similar,
I
but
agree.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to see that we had some differences. There are two movies on your list that I do not plan to go see in theaters at all. How to Train Your Dragon. I am a fan of the original animated movies.
Oh,
I was not a fan of them initially. I caught
okay.
them kind of, I don't know, a couple years ago, I think during COVID actually, where it's like, oh, I've never actually seen these. Joanna told me they're really good. So, hey, let's throw them on and watch. And I fell in love with the animated movies. And never for
Okay.
a second when I was watching them did I say to myself, man, I wish this was live action. I never said that. And so you saying that
Interesting.
you felt the CGI looked really good and that kind of the world looked interesting, to me, it does not look good at all.
Oh, see, that's
There is the dragons in the animated version are so cartoony that bringing that to a real world, I don't know if I can make that jump. Some of the styling of the characters, it is Viking, but it is animated Viking, and
hmm
they seem to, in what I've seen in the trailers, they seem to really stick to that style,
yeah.
and I don't know if that works for me. So, it
The
has nothing to say with the acting or even the story, but if it's the exact same story as what I saw as the animated, I don't know if I'm interested in this. It could be
interesting.
really good. I mean, if it's the same story, it should be really good, and I hope you enjoy it, and I
hmm
hope I enjoy it. I just don't know if I'm gonna be there opening
Yeah.
weekend to
No,
catch it.
that is
So,
interesting. And I mean, and that goes back to like, you're coming at it from a perspective, you've seen it. And if this
yeah,
is a story that you're already going to see before, you will prefer to see it
right.
in that medium.
Mhm.
And it's funny because like, yeah, like it came out, I think I was around 14, 15,
Yep.
because I was just in that
Mhm.
age where it just wasn't cool to watch those kind of
Right.
movies anymore. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of just followed that. And I do think if there was a medium for me to watch it, it, I, the dragons look cool. Like
Mhm.
like the cartoonish of it. I
Mhm.
would enjoy. I think I would
Yeah.
enjoy that.
Right.
But now that I mean, it's like now that they're telling it this way, it's like I
Mhm.
might as well just join in here
Yeah.
and
Join
kind
in
of
there.
just see where they go. Because if it's successful, we're probably gonna have more.
Right.
So,
And maybe
so yeah,
it'll be a good differing perspective, just
yeah,
like the Daredevil stuff. I think that'll be good. The set number 7, the ballerina from the world of John Wick. I as much as I love spy movies, I don't
hmm
care for the assassin movie.
yeah,
Not really the gun fu, not really my type of thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it just
I've
like I've
never
seen
heard that. I've never
you've
heard that
never heard
before.
gun
I
fu?
love that. No, that's exactly what it is.
Um, it just it's not for me. I don't
Yeah,
know why. I think it should be, but it's not. I watched the first one,
yeah,
and Joanna was like, "Wow, that was kind of exciting. I kind of want to watch the second." I was like, "Nah, I don't really care." I
hmm
it, I think it's a cool world, but just not for me. I don't
yeah,
even know if I'll see it, to be honest.
yeah.
Unless you really, really, really want me to, then I might. But
It falls because it's one of those like this is one that I would watch, but it's not one I'm
right,
recommending because I mean the the body count in that movie is just
it's
in
yeah,
these it's
right,
beyond me, and
yeah,
it does make me uncomfortable at times because like this is just a lot
right, yeah,
of gun fu, a lot of death. And
right.
so it's like a not guilty pleasure, but it is just one that is like I'm not gonna go to church on Sunday and start having conversations about this movie with our friends. And
Right.
so
Well, there are a
where
few
I'll talk
people
to them
who
about
really
Lilo and
enjoy those
Stitch.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I can name a
so
few who also really enjoy those movies. And I'm not shaming you in any way for liking them. I understand why people like them, just not for me. But I am glad to see that we have some commonality. So,
yeah.
excited to get to my 5 through 2.
Okay.
And to start off at number 5, we're gonna go Wicked for Good. So,
Okay.
excited to see Wicked. I knew nothing about Wicked before November, December of this past year, and went in completely blind and really enjoyed it. I think it'd be hard for me to say that I loved it. I'm not quite to that point, but I thoroughly
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it. I loved the world building it did. I loved the relationship. The songs are really good, and it did not impact me emotionally the way it impacted my wife or some of our friends. But I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and I'm excited to see part 2. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see where the story goes. how we get to the beginning of Wizard of Oz, and we went back and watched the original Wizard of Oz right after seeing this, and I'm would love if they would do a third part to this series and remake the Wizard of Oz with the stylings and actors and
Yeah.
actresses that we have today in these roles. I would love to see that then, and maybe update it just a little bit. I don't think it needs a ton of updating, but update
Uh-huh.
it just a little bit and go from there. I think that would be really cool. So
I
excited
agree.
for Wicked for Good. I have no idea what that title means, and
Yeah.
I don't plan on learning. I'm just going to go in blind like I did before and hopefully come out having enjoyed the movie. So that is
Sounds
my number
good.
5. Number 4 is Avatar, Fire, and Ash. So really excited for the third installment of the Avatar franchise. I was not on board with the first one. Did not go see it in theaters. Didn't our family just, like, for whatever reason, 3D was expensive or something, and my parents said, "Yeah, we're not going to that." And we watched it later, like, years later on home video, and we kinda, like, all looked at each other and, like,
Wow. Ah.
"Was that just, like, Pocahontas in space or Fern Gully in space? Like, why are people in love with this movie?" And truly did not understand it. So when, I don't
Mm.
know, a decade or more later,
Yes,
the second one
literally.
comes out, I was like, "Man, L let's go see this in theater. Let's do IMAX 3D, pay the extra money, and see if I can finally understand why people love this." And I did. The 3D is beyond anything I've ever experienced in a movie theater. It was it was in my top 2 favorite movies of that year. I think was that 2023, 2022, somewhere in there.
22, I
And the
think. Yeah.
underwater scenes were just beautiful and incredible and amazing,
Gorgeous.
and put all the other movies that did underwater shots that same year to shame. Like, it was just so good. The story was so good. I was finally invested. I'm like, I get it. I'm in. So super
Yep.
excited to go back to that world, to lose 3.5 hours of my life and be fully engulfed in Pandora and the world of Avatar. So that is my
Yep.
number 3. Or no, number 4. Number 3 is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
We're there.
I love the Mission Impossible movies. Love them. I have no reason to. Big fan of James Bond. My mom also loves James Bond and Mission Impossible, so maybe that's where I get it from. But love the Mission Impossible franchise. We'll do a ranking on them, I'm sure, a rank and explain of the Mission Impossible movies, and just super excited for this one. The last one, I went to go see it, and I had just had a bad day. Like, I had had a bad day, walked into the theater in a bad mood, walked out, and was like, "Ah, that's fine." So I need to go rewatch it, and
Mhm.
super excited for this next one. I love the big stunts. Tom Cruise is an absolute weirdo, and I don't understand him as a person, but in these films, like, he is Ethan Hunt, and I can get on board with him saving the world. So, super excited for Mission Impossible. Thank you for putting it on your top 10. Even if they're not your top-notch movies, this is my John Wick, where I just love the world
I get it.
that they're in and the spy aspects. So that is my number 3, and number 2 is Fantastic Four: First Steps. We talked about this trailer a little bit on our first episode, and I
Mhm.
am still super excited.
Yep.
Like, love the aesthetic. The more I've seen the trailer, the more I love it. I am on board with the cast that we have as a family unit. I think that works really well. Super excited to see where this takes the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Excited that it's that retro, futuristic 1960s world, completely separate. And I'm hoping that allows it to stand on its own and be its own movie and its own set of things that leads into something really awesome later on. But super excited for the Fantastic Four: First Steps.
Mhm. Yep. No,
So,
this is hey, I mean, looking at our color coding system
right.
here, like we are very much in
Very
line. Like I
aligned
don't
here.
really
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if I should just go ahead and knock mine out and add just
Yeah.
my little so I'll just go ahead and start with my 5, which I think is yep, Avatar Fire and Ash. I so it's really interesting hearing your perspective of the
Mhm.
first Avatar.
Okay. Yeah.
I saw it 5 times in theaters.
Whew.
'Cause it was just multiple and it wasn't that I mean, I did love it, but it was
Yeah.
just I just this group wanted to go see it, this group wanted to go see it, this group wanted to go see it,
Mhm.
and I just kept being in those groups, but every
Right.
single time it really was the the great change of cinema. Like,
Yeah.
the way that we talked about movies, the way that we
Mhm.
thought about movies
Mm.
just changed all from this one movie. It was just
Right.
something we've never seen before. Especially,
Mm.
I didn't see it in 3D until my until my third watch.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that was, and it, we thought that was the change of theaters forever. We thought that that
Yeah.
was what we are going to experience. And it's amazing because it was like only they can accomplish something like that. Because
Right.
other movies
Yeah.
try. I
Right.
remember, just a side story, I remember going to see Transformers right after this, and we saw it in 3D, and
Uh-huh.
multiple people threw up in the theater
Oh.
because it was such a headache. There was just so much. People
Mm.
were getting motion sickness.
Right.
And so for them to be able to tell this beautiful, cohesive story
Mm.
with just with 3D elements, and in a time period where we just weren't
Right.
used to that. Now
I
we
mean,
kind of take these things for granted.
yeah.
So yes, I'm really excited for it. I same with
Right.
the previous, like their last one. Didn't love it as much as the first one,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
their water sequences was
It's
just
just incredible.
next level. Just
Yeah.
next level. So
Mm.
I love fire. I love red. I love fire. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this level of
Mm.
storytelling. What part of this world that we're going to be in. I love the
Mm.
world.
Yeah.
Um and so yeah, really excited about that one. So going to my fourth, Thunderbolts.
Mm.
And I mean, it just is Marvel.
Yep.
So that's there. But I love this cast. I
Mm.
think that they there seems to be a focus with this one that we definitely did not see in Captain America, but we're
Mm.
not seeing it as much in maybe like Fantastic Four. But
Right.
it, with Guardians of the Galaxy kind of being on the tail end of his story, I think we are, like, I just think that there always need to be a place for that, that grungy group of superheroes who don't like working together but find a way to
Mm.
make it work and
Right.
kind of come together because of just a lot of different common circumstances. And I think the Thunderbolt can execute on that. Probably not as well Guardians of the Galaxy. That is an
Mm.
extremely high bar to
Yeah.
accomplish. But I think that this can be its own, because we're talking about completely different stories, a completely different, because we're talking about worlds with Guardians of the Galaxy. We're talking about
Right.
Earth. I want to see Bucky's arc and where
Yeah.
that leads
Yeah.
us, and where that's going to go. And so, and just what these characters' roles, which I'm bracing myself to probably not get the answer of this, but where these characters play in the bigger MCU. Am I
Right.
going to get that answered? We'll see. Probably not. But going to my third, it is Wicked for Good. Same
Mm.
as you, completely blind, never seen the musical. I think I've heard maybe one or two songs in my life. My wife dragged me there because I did not want to go.
Mm.
That was her second time going, my first time going. Completely blown away. Like,
Yeah.
I love the
Mm.
cinematography. I'm not a big musical guy, so even like the music, some of the pieces, yeah,
Mm.
there was some not hit and miss. They all were great musical pieces. It's just that's
Right.
just not my medium of watching a movie.
Right.
But the finale song, the song at the end,
Mm.
like, got
Yeah.
straight chills
Yeah.
across the board. And anytime there's a movie that me and my wife are both excited to go see
Mm.
equally,
Yeah.
is always a win. So that's why this
Right.
had to be in my top 3, because it
Mm.
is one that I'm not dragging my wife to come see. She's driving the car. I'm just like, all right, let's have a good time. Listen to some good music and some great cinematography. And I 100% agree with you on your take of Wizard of Oz. I think that would be
Mm.
amazing, because
Right.
it has made me appreciate this world in a way that I've never had before.
Right.
Because I've
Yeah.
seen Wizard of Oz growing up as a kid hundreds of times
Yeah.
and just never thought beyond it. And then
Mm.
this one movie comes out, and now it's like, I want to see more of this. I want to learn more about this world, the
Mm.
concept of magic, all of these different things. And so, really
Right.
excited about that. Yeah, I also don't know why it's for good, but
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out at the same time. And
We will
so,
find out.
and then going with my number 2, it is Superman.
Mm.
So, really, I really struggle with this, because you probably can.
Mm.
All right, I can guess your one. You can probably guess
Yep.
my one.
Yep.
And I really struggled with this, and I feel because I even went as far as me thinking about, okay, what are we ranking on?
Mm,
And I still don't 100% feel like, I don't know, like I still struggle with my pick here.
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel my thoughts are D the DCU and where they're at right now. I think
mm,
it's DECU. I don't know, but where they are right now, they don't have much to lose. They're
right,
kind of at the bottom,
mm,
and I feel like this movie has a lot riding on it,
mhm,
but I feel like because it is a fresh restart, I think it's going to succeed. And so
yeah,
for that, I just don't anticipate it as much because I know that it's going to be a good story. I trust James Gunn
yep,
and I'm excited to see it, but I really, and I won't go into my first one, but
yep,
yes, so I am really excited to see it. And then also I'm coming from someone who has just not been the biggest Superman fan. I've
yeah,
never, all the Superman movies I've seen, I've enjoyed it. I love the concept of Superman and what he
mm,
represents. But there's just been so many better stories that I've seen. And part of
right,
that is because Superman has not been executed on at his core of what it means to be good and like
right,
all the things that make Superman Superman and Clark Kent. So I
mm,
am really hopeful and excited to see that executed well for the not for the first time because I think Man of Steel was good, but like I said, there was
mm,
better stories being told.
right.
So yeah.
So it is. We can go ahead and reveal it. Superman is my number one. So we
Hmm.
can have a full on discussion about it. And
And then Fantastic,
the reason,
yeah.
yeah, Fantastic Four is yours. Um, and that doesn't surprise me at all. I knew that was going to happen when
Yep.
we put together these lists. And the reason Superman goes above Fantastic Four for me is some of the reasons that you stated. Is that DC has nothing to lose. There
Yep.
is no reason for them to not put everything they have to make this movie work. And I loved the trailer, absolutely loved the trailer. We talked about it. I got super excited, and I love James Gunn.
Yeah.
Every movie that he has made, I have liked.
Yep.
I love Guardians of the Galaxy.
Love
I
it.
like Volume 2. I love Volume 3. And he has a couple other movies out there that I also really enjoy. And so to have his vision coming to DC characters and specifically Superman, where I agree Superman has not been done in the modern age well. I
Hmm.
think Man of Steel is a great sci-fi movie and a great
Yeah.
commentary on religion. It is
Yeah. Yeah.
not a good Superman movie. I
Yeah.
don't think it is. And Henry Cavill was a fine Superman. He really was. But I'm really excited to see kind of a brighter, hopefully more hopeful take on the character and to see this world that is coming from James Gunn because I love the world and worlds that he has built in Guardians of the Galaxy. And I know it's going to be completely different, but
Hmm.
I'm just really excited to see that vision come to life and hopefully be excited for the other DC movies that are going to come out after it.
Yeah.
So that's why it goes above for me. To transition back to the MCU and let you give your thoughts on Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
the reason Thunderbolts is an honorable mention for me.
I saw that.
Yep.
I'm not super surprised.
Okay.
I get that. Especially looking at your list, like I can
Yep.
see why that isn't piercing through. But yes, I want to
Yeah.
definitely want to hear your explanation though.
It's probably 11. It was
Okay.
probably number 9 or 10 to start, and then Captain America: Brave New World happened, and again, I don't think that's a bad movie. It's not a terrible movie.
Yeah.
And a
No, I get
thumbs
that.
up. I was telling people, thumbs up, thumbs down World, it still gets a thumbs up because I enjoyed it, but
Hmm.
it again is not the standard of the MCU that we're used to, and it makes me if Captain America had been really good, and I came out really just, like, loving it and loving the grounded reality that it set,
Hmm.
then I'd probably have it on my list because it's, again, another grounded movie, but it is still in that era of movies where I don't feel like Marvel was as focused. It's at the tail end of that where hopefully their production has gotten a little bit better and they've gotten out of whatever funk they're in, but it's just not it's not on my list. And the
Yeah.
characters, I like the characters. but I don't see them being big players in the rest of the world, so it's hard
Yeah,
for me to get super excited, and maybe
I
I'm
get
just
that.
dumbing down my excitement so I can walk out and hopefully feel a little bit better about it when I walk out of the theater,
Yeah.
but it just didn't make my list, and, so I'm excited to hear about Fantastic Four being your number 1 though, since I've already talked
Yeah.
about it.
No, and just before I even go, it's like I completely understand that Superman, and I really struggle with this because I do
Mm,
think that there could be argument made that like this is, yes, DCU has nothing to lose, but this also is like a make or break. Like if this
mm,
flops, then it's just it's not over, but
right.
it's going to be even harder
Yeah.
to build on what this movie is
Mm,
supposed to be.
yep.
So that was I spent a lot of time on this. But yes, I mean I just love that trailer
Yeah.
from Fantastic Four. I see a lot of the MCU Discord, and it is around, these movies are too big. Right
Mm,
after Endgame, we started getting all of these big spectacles of,
mm,
No Way Home, Eternals,
right.
Shang-Chi, just Quantumanium and
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, and just these really like just elaborate, big,
Mm,
massive production movies, and everyone's complaining, make it small. Like, let's
yep.
get back to like the OG stuff. Let's make it small and kind of expand from there. Then you get, Black Widow, and just recently Captain America, and people
Mm,
are upset about that.
yeah.
So it is like they're kind of fighting a losing battle, and I do think that Fantastic Four can be their W, because
Mm,
I think it has the possibility of accomplishing both. It
right.
has the it has that small home like feel that,
Mhm.
a Guardians of the Galaxy in its earlier stages had, Iron Man had in this world building
Right.
with Tony Stark, and the tech and all of those things, having a genius as your main character. It has all of
Mm,
these elements that we loved in our older Marvel movies that built
mm,
this empire, of the MCU. But then
right.
it also, we know that there's more to it, and we
Mm,
know, and we are hoping that this, and I it would be the biggest disappointment if this movie does not start answering our
oh,
questions and start setting us forward. It has to. It
mm,
has to. And
yeah.
so because of that, I'm just anticipating on like how, like, where are we going to go? Like, are we
Right.
going to meet Doctor Doom? Are
Yeah.
we going to start
Right.
moving? Are we going to start assembling people? Like, are we going to see, like what
Right.
is going to come from that? Because it has to be this movie. I don't expect
Right.
it from Thunderbolts, which is why I completely agree with. I completely understand. Honestly, I
Mm.
thought it was going to be Fantastic Four that got left out of your list, and
Oh, okay.
there would have been a real conversation. I was like, what? But
No, I'm not that
no,
insane.
Thunderbolts, I can live with,
Okay.
because I can understand it. Like, I'm
Right.
setting myself up for high expectation. Like, probably setting myself up for failure, because I
Yeah.
don't think our answer, like, we're going to get really any answers out of that.
Yeah.
But it
I
probably will still be a good joyride,
yeah.
if that. And so
I agree. I want the same thing, but I want it to stay contained. Like the same way that you're saying, like, oh, these are too big and these are too small. Well, give us answers, but keep it self-contained. We kind of,
yes,
as fans, we have that back and forth, and we need to stop and just
yeah,
accept them for what they are and enjoy them as movies that are just meant to, kind of take you away from this world, enjoy that world, and then come back. But I think
yes,
I agree, we do have to get some sort of answer. There has to be
yes.
something because I'm looking at the release schedule. I pulled it up because I wasn't sure. The next movie after Fantastic Four
Oh
is
yeah, this is
Avengers
good.
Doomsday.
Really?
That's it. There's no other movies that are going to occur between Fantastic Four and
Oh
Avengers Doomsday.
wow, I did not know
And
that.
so this whole multiverse saga that we're in with the MCU is coming to a rapid close. I mean, absolutely rapid pace that that they're moving the story
Oh,
along, and so it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens there and how
mm-hmm,
this plays out because there's not a I'm looking at the TV series that are coming out, and there's
mm-hmm.
2 animated shows and 1 live action that I don't think fits in at all, and it's just we'll see. We're gonna have to see. The MCU will have to be its own episode, probably maybe before Thunderbolts, we do an MCU episode and really do a deep dive into what's going on there. But
Yeah.
so that is our top 10 most anticipated lists for 2025. We have some similarities, we have some differences. I think I'm looking at the colors, and we each
Mm-hmm.
have 4 movies on our list that the other person didn't have.
Yep.
Everything else we are similar on, but nothing lined
Similar.
up exactly, which
No.
that's completely fine. Again, our ones and twos could go back and forth probably all day,
Yes. Yes.
and
Good.
excited to go see these movies probably a lot together and to enjoy them in the theaters. But this means that we're entering the outtake. So we have
Yep.
finished up our first rank and explain. You guys are probably going to see these maybe about once a month from us. We both really love ranking things. This might be one of the core driving motivations for this podcast is so we
Yes.
can rank things together. But we want to hear your rankings, and that's really what this outtake is about this week. Is we are challenging you, our listeners, and our audience. And again, the feedback has been just so awesome, and it's exciting to see just how many people have tuned in to listen to us. Two guys who have no reason for people to listen to them. We've had a couple hundred people start listening to us, and that is huge, especially after only 3 episodes. So thank you.
Yes.
But we want to challenge you guys. We want this to be a community where we can share about the media that we intake and how that affects us. And right today was all about excitement for what's to come, and we want to hear your guys's movies that you're anticipating. Was there something that we talked about that you feel differently about, or something that we completely left off any of our lists that you guys want to see? We want that information. You can comment on the YouTube video. You can email us at at intakepod@gmail.com. And if there was a piece of content, a piece of media that really impacted you in these first 2 months as we come to a close of February, so January and February 2025, was there something that impacted you? A YouTube video, a movie, a TV series, an article that you read, a giant basketball trade that happened at the NBA trade deadline? Let us know those things, and maybe we will review some of those in our next episode as reviewing the outtake. So that is our challenge, is to receive things from you guys.
So next week we'll be back to our regular scheduled programming from like our first 2 episodes. Really looking forward to talking more about our different intakes and also discussing yours. We would love to just highlight those along the way as well.
Mm.
So, and we'll try to our best to incorporate that as much as possible. So we'll
Yep.
just love to get that feedback. We'll be checking all of our social media channels to see
Mm.
any of those comments that are coming our way and try to find ways that we can incorporate you into our
Mm.
program. And just, join us on those our outtake challenges. I'm really looking forward to just all the different ones that we have, all the different shows. Like I'm
Yep.
now a Star Trek fan. I can say that proudly. And so, but yeah. And so,
Awesome. Well, live long and prosper. Oh man, I almost wasn't able to do it for a second. Live long and prosper.
oh,
And until
yes,
next
yes,
time,
yes.
consume wisely and stay thoughtful. Thanks.
And thank you guys for tuning into the Intake podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, rate, and share with your friends. You can watch all of our video podcasts on YouTube at youtube.com/theintake. You can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at The Intake Pod, and share your own intake experience with us via email at intakepod@gmail.com.
Oh.